Right, so joining us in the studio with insights as to what Ghana could do to enhance the security of the populace, Colonel retired First Sister Waji, who comes in with enormous experience as far as security matters are concerned. Thank you very much, Colonel retired, for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, we are also at one of Ghana's biggest charismatic churches, the Christian Action Faith Ministries International, which appears to have taken some proactive measures to enhance security for the congregation. Komla Dom is on standby to tell us about some of the measures there and what steps the church will be taking to enhance security. Now, first, though, Johnny's prime producer Jojo Kobna lived in Uganda for at least 2 years and says they take security a lot more seriously, and that frisking of members of the public is so common they've become quite used to it. Jojo joins me in the studio. Now, Jojo, you tell us about your experience in Uganda.
No, let me just put this one in context, then quickly we build on it. In 2010, Uganda had a terrorism attack. Al-Shabaab bombed a cricket stadium, a rugby stadium, killing about 74 people. And so since that, Uganda has heightened its security. So what would happen is that you go into a mall, like how we go to the Accra Mall and we just walk in. There is no way you can walk into any Ugandan mall without being checked, properly checked. Before your car will be checked before you enter, and
so
when
the car will be checked.
The car will be checked first before you enter, and when you enter, you'll be checked thoroughly before you get into the mall. And then when you go to
now hold on, with the checking of the vehicles as you're talking about, is it they using mirrors to look around the
they use mirrors
to
go to look around under the car, and then they open the boots, and then they check the various compartments, and then they even tell
as happens in the hotels.
Yes, and then they will tell you to even step out of the car. It's very common for you to step out of the car, and so you would have to step out, and then they check, and then they would ask you questions, then they allow you to go. So they don't really care with the traffic, whether
is this random or everybody gets checked?
Everybody, every hotel that you go into. If you go to a church, it is very common. Not common. It is the practice. You are checked, and many churches you see 2 police officers stationed outside. Usually there are even more, depending on the information that the security operatives are picking up. So they beef up security at various churches. If you're even going to taxi parks, we will call it the Trawler stations. They even position security officers there where you are checked before you even board. And the buses, you are thoroughly checked. Your items are well screened before you make your way. So it is heightened. When you're traveling, like Kotoka International Airport, the only time you are checked is when you enter, and then after they check your luggage, and that's it. At Uganda, before you get to the airport, several meters before you get to the airport, you are checked. Everyone in the car will come out, you properly checked, and then you sit in, you drive, and then there are metal detectors, you go through it too. And then when you get to the main airport, you are checked before your items are checked. So they check you several times because they are very security conscious. And anytime there is a bombing, like maybe a Nairobi bus bombing, then they would increase it. The Westgate happened, then they would increase it. So it is very common for you to be stopped anywhere and you'll be checked, where you can even be in a trotro moving, and then in the afternoon you're stopped, not in the evening, and then they'll check everyone. So that is how they do it in Uganda.
All right. Thank you very much, Jojo Kobna, bringing us that Ugandan experience there. Now, there are certainly a few things we could learn from the Ugandan example. Kenel, do you think we should be going the Ugandan way, or it's probably too overbearing?
Well, it is overbearing, but I think the question of security has trade-offs with individual freedoms. So you need to sacrifice some of your comfort in order for the state to provide you with more security. The cost or the investment is worthwhile. So I think that we are even late. It looks like we're waiting until the untoward happens before we jack up. That shouldn't be the case. There are a lot of lessons that we can learn from countries within the sub-region and further afield within the continent to have learned some very useful lessons and borrowed practices, best practices, good practices. And then to get used to those practices before it happens.
All right.
But the whole idea is that terrorists who have an estimate of your security environment And currently, there are so many loopholes within the security environment. These motorbikes, for instance, the incident you mentioned in Burkina Faso, Dablo, I think they arrived on about 6 or 7 motorbikes, 20 of them, before they attacked the parishioners as they stepped out, and had time enough to go and loot a pharmacy. In some cases, they loot cattle, food, and so on, and then they escape.
Okay. All right, we'll be, I'll be returning to you so we can do a lot more of the analysis, but let's get to Komla Adom at the Christian Action Faith Ministries International on the Spintex Road here in Accra. Now, Komla, what are some of the security measures you have observed as being in place at the church?
When you get into the compound of the Action Chapel here on the Spintex Road, you will be subjected to some security checks. So your vehicle will be subjected to some checks at the entrance of a compound. And then when you enter and congregants attempting to enter the chapel, there are various entry points here at the chapel. So as you can see in my shot, there's one here which has some installed detectors. So individuals who pass through these entrances will have to submit themselves to these checks. So the detectors will have to check whether individuals coming in have any metal objects or other foreign objects. Once they are detected, they are isolated and you are asked to stand by, step aside. So these are sorted out. But largely all the entry points, at least 5 of the entry points that I have been to since I came here, have these detectors. They are detecting and they are checking from congregants who are bringing foreign materials into the service. At the moment, there is the midweek service happening inside. Hundreds of people have already gone through these entry points and are in the chapel at the moment worshiping. But then the security officials here are still on high alert. As you can see, all those who are coming in, whether you are young or you are old, you are subjected to these checks here at the entry points at the Action Faith Chapel, Israel.
Now, Komla, how long have these security measures you talk about been in place?
Well, from my interaction with the head of security here 3 years ago, but in the last few months, they have intensified the security arrangements here because of all the threats that had been recorded in parts of the region in the last few months. So following the attacks in Burkina Faso, they are about to up the security arrangement here, and almost all the security individuals here have talkbacks that they're communicating on a constant basis, and then they are allowing the individuals who drive into the premises subject themselves to this check before they go to.
We've had to intensify these security measures to protect the congregants, thousands of them who come to fellowship here every other day.
Now, Komla, do we know what must have informed their decision to introduce these security measures?
According to my interaction with the head of security here, 2 years ago when the idea was there to increase security here, they recalled that the numbers who used to troop into this particular chapel every Sunday, more than 5,000 individuals. And so it was necessary for them to institute some security measures to protect the lives of it.
It was necessary for them to institute some security measures to protect the lives of thousands of people who come here every Sunday to fellowship. And mind you, Israel, it's not only Sunday fellowships that they have. They also have midweek sessions, like what is happening in the auditorium right now as we speak. And in there, I can tell you that hundreds of people are already there. Young people, old people are already in the chapel fellowshipping. And so the recording of the high numbers of people to fellowship here necessitated the decision by the leadership of the church to institute these security measures, they tell me.
And what do they say was their initial reaction of the congregants when they introduced these measures?
Israel, from my interaction with the head of security, he told me that the congregants, they had to sensitize them that these are the measures that they were putting in place.
And when they increased or intensified their arrangements, they educate the members as and when. So if they introduce new measures, they educate the members about it, and then the members have the buy-in. I will be joined in a short while by one of the resident pastors here, Reverend Ubudai. He will join me. Let's have a quick chat. He's been telling me a lot about the arrangements they are going to be making. He'll join us shortly. Thank you very much, for your time here on Joy News Prime.
Pardon?
Thank you very much for your time on Joy News Prime.
You're welcome.
And I have been speaking to the head of security here. He's been running me through some of the arrangements or the measures that you have put in place as a church to deal with the security threat. He told me that far back 3 years ago, these security measures were instituted. Can you run us through briefly what necessitated these measures you talk about that you instituted 3 years ago?
I think everybody knows what is happening in the world. The world is a global village. Anything you see happening somewhere should inform you. But these are the trends. And if you watch what happens in other countries, it's enough indication that everybody needs to be aware of it. As recent as just about 2 weeks ago, even last week, you see what's happening in Sudan, you see what is happening in Burkina Faso and other places. But 2 to 3 years back, there was a lot of targeting of American interests. Hotels even in Kenya, etc., were bombed, etc. So those things prompted us because we were hosting an international conference with some DJs coming in from the States. And because of that, you needed to be aware that we States. And because of that, you needed to be aware that, any program like that that exposes international community to the general public is something you need to take seriously. So we needed to make sure security was stepped up just to make sure those who were coming were safe and our own people were safe. So that's what necessitated it.
Okay, and I imagine that you and the congregants have been having an interaction to sensitize them about how these processes work. How have they been taking it so far?
Oh, initially it's a little, anything that is different and anything that is new comes with its own challenges. Normally I walk straight into chair. Why do I have to go through a metal detector? Why do I have to queue to be scanned to enter into a service that I used to walk straight into? So there's a lot of frustration, so that's the reason why you need to educate in advance. When people know you're doing things for their own good, then they warm up. Because actually you can see that it takes a little longer to fill the church because people need to be scanned, people need to be screened, if you like. So those are the frustrations. But once people had an understanding of why these things were being done, it made it easier for them to appreciate. Besides, everybody listens to the news. Everybody sees and hears about what is going on outside. So you can understand and appreciate the need to step up security. We have children, we have young people, we have adults, we have foreigners. The whole place is full of all kinds of people. And numbers attract crime.
That's true. Now, I don't want us to go into the fine details of what exactly the measures are, etc., because we may be giving the bad guys some of the leads. But did it cost so much to implement these systems, for which reason other churches can emulate this example?
Oh, the cost is in different levels. There is the cost of the equipment higher than the price of life. So the cost shouldn't be there anymore. Now the sizes of different groupings, the churches and organizations vary. Because we have a lot of entrances, we need to invest more in the number of equipment we use. If you have just 2 doors, then you don't need too many workers. So the structure will determine the kind of investment you need to make. We have a big structure, we have a lot of people. That's how come we need to invest more than maybe others will. I think it shouldn't scare anyone.
Right. What assurance do you give to other people, Christians, who are scared by everything that...
All right, so we're having some challenges with the line connection to Komla Adom there, but Colonel Retired First Sabaji is with me in the studio. You have heard about some of the security measures that Christian Action Faith Ministries International has put in place. What other measures would you recommend?
Well, I think we need to commend the churches that have seized the opportunity or the initiative to enhance their own security. We should commend that initiative to all other churches and mosques, and indeed all the other facilities that you've mentioned in your remarks. But more than that, because the state has the fundamental responsibility to protect citizens or persons within its borders, the state must now engage with the churches. Indeed, I would suggest that the state must make it mandatory for all churches to establish some local security mechanisms. Because ultimately, it is the state that will be blamed and held up responsible. Indeed, you might know that in Sri Lanka, the government of Sri Lanka has issued a directive that all sermons at mosque must be presented for
approval or?
for approval. Indeed, it's one of the mechanisms to try and weed out, you know, what do you call that language? Extremist,
inflammatory, okay.
Yeah, extremist language and so on that helps to now recruit some of those individuals. So that, I think, is what we need to do, and we need to replicate it across the entire spectrum of our, you know, of our country. But I'm a bit concerned that since yesterday or a few days ago, the focus has been on churches. But the examples that we have about terrorist attacks, they have been very indiscriminate. They have also included mosques. They have included schools. They have included hospitals. They've included government facilities. So it's not a question of, yes, the localized examples in northeastern Burkina Faso have been against churches. But it doesn't mean that going forward, these actors are not going to attack other mosques and other facilities. So I would suggest that we all take responsibility. Even for your own studio here, you need to put in certain measures, you know, to ensure that you are protected before you now depend on the state to provide that environment within which, you know, you can conduct your activities.
Right. One other issue I'd like you to look at is the personal safety or security of individuals. And I'll come to that in a bit. But right now, I have this other clip I want to share with you. My colleague Kojo Yankson was at the Accra Mall to conduct a little experiment about the security consciousness of the public. Let's watch this.
So we have left the backpack there for over 30 minutes and nobody has raised a single alarm. The people who are sitting on the bench have changed over time. Only one person has remained there, sitting right next to the bag. But he hasn't even noticed it's there, right beneath his feet. It could be a bomb, it could be anything. But he most certainly is not bothered, and neither is anyone else. I don't know whether there's CCTV in this shopping center, but nobody has picked up the fact that I left the bag there for 30 minutes. All right, I'll go take my bag.
Now, interesting. Now, before I bring in Colonel Retired Abaji, I want to share with you some of the reactions that are coming on social media. So we have Rex Omenye says, this is not the best way to do the test. Even you that did this kind of test must fall victim. Thank God, safe say, now good people did there. If not, the bag for disappear before you finish talking to the camera. All right, and we have several replies. Rex Omenye, the day a bomb will explode near you, you will know the importance of this test. And Paul says, I've always been thinking about this and was hoping someone tests our security at the various malls, and it just happened. I'm just scared going to these places. It's good we walk in free space and enjoy our peace, but how responsive will our security services be when some of these things happen? And then Deborah Gray says, please, dear Ghanaian, let's stop sharing this. This is not good for our security. Stop this kind of test. Joy News. All right, and I'll bring in Colonel Retired First Sawaj. What do you make of the test, first of all, and the reactions that we're getting on?
Well, these tests are done by certain agencies or organizations in other countries from time to time to test the resilience of communities and society, the levels of security awareness, security consciousness. and to use that to draw the attention of the authorities to try and put in the necessary mechanisms to enhance security. So I wouldn't agree to those who had the adverse comments. The fact that for 30 minutes, that unattended bag was left in situ itself suggests that if it had been a live bomb, the person would have had sufficient time to leave the mall, get into his or her car, and leave the premises before the bomb would have
gone. And the other
off.
information that I'm picking up is that there were actually cleaners who came to clean around the bag and didn't think
that is the level of the security awareness or consciousness I refer to. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I missed the Westgate Mall terrorist attack by a couple of hours. I was living in Kenya. I had planned to go to the Westgate Mall. The plumber was late in coming to fix some plumbing issues, so I decided to go elsewhere. I was in that mall when I heard it on radio. You see, in Kenya currently, this wouldn't happen.
Okay.
In every mall, there are uniformed police and ununiformed police who are perambulating up and down. The shop owners, shop attendants, every citizen, the scanners at the entrance, taking your phone and all metals out into a basket, being scanned, you know. These are the mechanisms that they've put in place, but they have learned the hard way. It looks to me that we're waiting to learn the lessons before probably it's too late for us.
But we can avoid that.
We can avoid that. Indeed, the level of security education within this country is almost zero. And that is very worrisome. So we need a concerted effort through partnerships, NCC, the media, national security setups, and other institutions like the Kofi Annan Center, and the one that you mentioned, the West African Center for Counter Extremism, you know, to try and to try and train, you know, and build capacity, build resilience within society. But that resilience thing is very important. The government or the state alone cannot provide security for 30 million people or for X number of churches and mosques. But it is a collaborative effort. Churches, state institutions, and so on and so forth. Then we can get the security that we all need.
Right. Thank you very much, Colonel Retired Festus Abuaje. You've been very helpful, as always. Now, in other news, staff of electricity transmission company GridCo are warning there could be disruption to power supply if urgent steps are not taken to address the financial crisis facing it. The electricity company of Ghana, now PDS, and Tema-based VALCO together owe GridCo $150 million. That's according to the workers. This, they say, is impacting negatively on GridCo's ability to pay salaries of its employees and maintenance of transmission equipment. Authorities are warning further delay in payment of the outstanding money will affect power supply. President of the Senior Staff Association, Raphael O'Connor, says morale among workers is down as a result of the financial crisis facing the company.
I think that the major issue is about our debt with ECG, which government needs to pay to enable us to do our maintenance effectively. And that is the cry of workers. And as we highlighted on the May Day placard, that is a major concern of staff. And for us, we think that if our money is paid and we are able to do our maintenance effectively, at least we'll be able to maintain the grid effectively and also to be able to deliver on our mandate. And that is the basis of our problem. Now, staff concerns are also there, but we are very much concerned with our maintenance because we think that the survival of GridCo, if GridCo survives, then all other things that staff needs will be added. However, if these things are not done and staff needs are not addressed, then it's like double jeopardy. So the motivation for staff will not even be there. But our major concern is for us to get the money and do our maintenance effectively because all our components are dollar index and it's affecting us. We can't get it on the local market here. So, and also the tariff is another issue which government needs to also look at because currently the 2.5 Ghana pesos, which cannot even buy half of pure water. Pure water is about 20 pesos. And GridCo per kilowatt hour is 2.5 pesos. I mean, how do you operate and make money to sustain your grid? As of February, we are looking at $150 million. That is VALCO and ECG. ECG is only 600 million Ghana cedis, and the VALCO is $28 million as of February. Management met with staff, and they told staff that, look, government, we have approached government, the seat of government, and they have directed that some money should be released to GridCo in the short term so that the GridCo will be able to stand on its feet. But from 1st May up to now, nothing has come.
Now, the 2019 close season for canoe fishermen in Ghana came into effect on Wednesday, with virtually all the fishermen staying away from the beaches in compliance with the directive. As now, fishermen are to cease all fishing activities for the period, in a move government says should allow fishes to spawn. The ban of fishing has become especially critical because of a sharp decline in the country's fish stock in recent years, blamed on overfishing. Joint News' Henry Kwesi Badu visited the Jamestown fishing community here in Accra and reports despite the agitations by some fishermen, none of them took to the sea to fish.
Some fishermen protested against the announced close season last week when John News visited the community. It's mid-morning Wednesday here at the Jamestown London site. The fishing value chain employs hundreds. Fishermen are busily pulling out their canoes and docking them by the shore. With just a few canoes on the water as they stay anchored close by, the sea looks clear with little activity. Peter Godfred Kofi has been fishing for years. He tells the news team he has been preparing for government's directive and believes the ban will benefit fishermen across the country.
Well, we have started offloading our things from the canoe, and even we are just pulling our canoe upwards so that it can be proper arranged for the time 1 month ahead of us before we can continue.
Okay, so this means you guys are not going to sea?
We are not going to sea. Simple because we have been informed, and as it has been informed, we cannot overlook the law or break the law, so we have to obey to what the president has said or the government has said. But because we are not giving, we all are knowing that it is good for us all. It's good that even if by 1 month time, by grace of God, we have a catch, it means we also will have profit. Because we have been using all the time going to the sea, at times we find it very difficult even a month to have something. But if this is going to happen, and after that, by grace of God, things will change, we will like it.
James Addison agrees with him.
Initially, we were against the directive because we did not understand. But after the minister came to educate us, we now know what they want to achieve with this closed season. Now that we will have to stay at home for a month, we wish government supports us to cater for our children.
Not going to sea for a month is a worry for many. For Mohammed Ofoli, another fisherman, taking care of his dependents will now be a difficult task.
We are in full support of the ban, but we will go hungry. That's why we want the government to provide us with some stipends.
Operators of local eateries, fishmongers and other service providers on the value chain believe the close season will bring hardship as sales will decline drastically.
Can the government look after our families during this period? For 1 month, Now that the close season is here, we have no other option than to comply. But we'll be grateful if government gives us an alternative source of livelihood. It will be really appreciated. For 1 month,
Some government officials have been touring the fishing community. We met the executive director of the Fisheries Commission, Michael Arthur Dadzi, who says government is collaborating with the Ghana Navy to ensure strict compliance.
In fact, the security agencies are part of the enforcement process. The Ghana Navy, as I said, they are at high seas. In fact, they are at sea patrolling. We have the Fisheries Enforcement Unit having been deployed. We are doing beach combing. Our zonal directors are on the spot, also giving us information.
As mixed reactions greet the close season, most fishermen at Jamestown are complying with the directive, hoping the move will achieve its intended aim of ending the overexploitation of marine resources, especially fish stock, which has been on the decline over the years. Henry Kwisibedu's report for Joy News.
Well, some fishermen in the central region say they will comply with government's decision to close the season for fishing, but want government to do more to protect the sea from being exploited. They want the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture to supervise the industrial trawlers who may be fishing during this period. The fishermen who have been speaking with Richard Kojo at Elmina say government should also legitimize buying fish or the purchase of fish from industrial fishing trawlers on the seas, adding, had it not been for that, about 90% of the fish caught by the industrial trawlers would have gone to waste.
So this is the Psycho Market in Elmina. It is very, very busy, populated with a lot of people. On the other side of Elmina is the sea. No one is going fishing today because of the close season. So today, the sea is very quiet. There is no sign of activity. But here at the Psycho Markets, there is some brisk business, buying and selling of fish. I've got some of the leaders here to speak with me.
I'm the national best fisherman 2014. This fish that we are breaking here is a product that being thrown into the sea by the industrial vessels. As they took their target ones and the rest being dumped. At least they can go to the port with some percentage, about 1/10 of it, or 90% being thrown into the sea. Vessels are looking for their target fish. We want to prove it to them that we are Ghanaians. We can't allow the foreigners to destroy our sea. But we are happy that government are bringing that measures that they are supervising, so that they won't catch the small fish.
So this work is a beneficial work for all the communities in Ghana, not Elmina alone. Because Elmina is having a good landing beach. That is why we see people doing it only in Elmina. But it doesn't mean that only the Elmina people are doing it. So we pray that the government stimulates it for us so that it will be well for all of us.
Thousands of eager faces, a lot of them, I'm told, were jobless, but for this business that is sustaining them. For them, it is a matter of survival. For them, it is their daily bread, and they want government to streamline what they do and to minimize the number of small fish that are caught by the industrial trawlers.
Well, the implementation of the enforcement of the closed season in this month of May goes contrary to the advice given by the scientists who say that it should have happened in August. But Deputy Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture, Francis Atukujo, has been explaining the institution of the arrangement of the ban in May is a compromise.
We had negotiated with the fishers and then developed a fisheries management plan.
Okay.
From 2015 to 2019, the peak spawning period.
Yeah.
So there are some spawning activities as we are talking.
Yeah, but we want the best, right?
No, it's a minor spawning season. And this document that I presented, this document, which is from 2015 to 2019, that is the basis for the close season, says we should do it May, June. So for this 2019, we are not out of order. So this is the plan. Do it in May and June. But last year, when we were just about to doing it, we had a scientific committee come to advise us, which is also the law, that whatever you are doing, get the best advice from the scientific people. Okay. So this is what we have put down as far as 2015. But last year, they advised that August is the best period. August is the best period. So we wanted to do it in August, but the fisher said, no, this is what we have negotiated with you. We have negotiated May and June. So we want to stay with this until the 2019 is passed. We can talk about new days. Okay. So as I'm talking to you now, I mean, even though we just started implementing this, we have spoken about 2019, and it looks as if 2019, they are prepared to do it in July. So we'll keep talking. But as I'm speaking to you, the trawlers who export about 70% of the catch, they are going to do this in August and September for 2 months. Now, when I talked about the trawlers, he said that they are targeting the demersal fish. Yes, their license allows them. The license say target the demersal fish, but unfortunately, in reality, they are actually doing pelagic fishing. So you believe that if they go on with the ban in August and September, we will have a result, some good result. The advice that came from the scientific committee is that when we do it around August, because of where we are, we need to do it at the peak spawn.
Now tonight, there is an admission of human attitudes contributing to pollution of drains in parts of the country. Some residents living in one of Accra's most populous communities, Nima, have been discussing the cause of choked drains and gutters with plastic and solid waste. With us, Komla Dom, who visited the community, reports some residents believe the presence of sanitary inspectors along a huge uncompleted drain could be an immediate solution.
A bitter admission by a group of people contributing to their own downfall. Call it fate. The slightest rain here at Nima leaves most homes submerged in floodwaters with waste flowing into homes. But the challenge of waste disposal is a huge one. Partly a reason the Works and Housing Ministry is looking to redevelop this slum community. One of Accra's biggest slums is set to have a turnaround after government announced that it is looking to reconstruct the entire Nima community into a modern one. The expectation is that all these structures will be pulled down for new facilities to be put up and the individuals in these structures relocated into the new facility. These residents concede they have polluted the environment.
The problem is only the refuse. When they start to rain, then you see people come with the refuse, many things put inside. So maybe to come to be a big problem. When this dawn, I saw them, I talked to them. I talked to them they should be wild, very, very bold. And if somebody come and put, they should cut the person.
For me and my boys, most of my boys, they used to sit here to have fun and things. So them, if they are here, nobody will come and put bola here. They have been sacking the peoples. Nobody will allow.
But some residents blame the uncompleted work on the drain for the pollution we see here.
For the first time, they didn't make this thing. I think it will be normal than after they can make this thing. Now the rain start coming from here. If the rain comes, you come and choke here. So you even pass, you can't pass here. And when they come and do this, the bridge say, we are the people who did our bridge. They didn't do nothing. They just fix it and leave it. And here too, people are living here. It's dangerous.
What will it take then to get this problem fixed, even as government looks to rebuild this slum? Madam Lariatu Yakubu, a property owner here, believes it is time to have sanitary inspectors deployed here to check the menace.
Most of the time, we do collect them and pay money for them. Then some rents, the tenants will just give this thing to these junkies and give them some peanuts. Then they will just walk around. They don't see anybody around. They just leave there. They stand behind your windows. If you're out and you don't like it, you have to pick it and go and pay and throw it away. So I think the sanitary inspectors and other things, with some community volunteers around, it will help, yeah.
But will this deal with the problem? Well, until then, this eyesore will remain. And the poor waste disposal habits of some of the residents here will compound issues. Komla Adom, Joy News.
And I'm Israel. Thank you very much for watching. You have a good night.